Hey, what is up, everyone? Welcome to the Crack House Chronicles. I am Donnie.
I am Chris.
I'm Bill.
And we are your host. What's going on, guys?
Howdy. How's everybody? How's everybody doing?
Another day of podcasting.
Doing without.
What a nice day outside. What did you say, Donnie?
Yeah, it's weather out there, Chris.
Yeah,
It was kind of cold this morning, though. What do you think about that?
Yeah, and then the weather came out.
Yeah,
so,
the
got
sunshine.
my first grass cut yesterday.
You got your grass cut, really?
Yeah.
Already?
Well, I got my boy to do most of it.
Yeah.
That's what it's for.
That's it. That's why you have
What
kids.
brought them in this world?
That's why you have kids, in case you need grass cut or an organ one of these days.
Yeah, my kid ain't going to be cutting grass anytime soon. We had some neighbors beside of us that had a fiesta over the weekend.
I thought they had one last weekend.
Dude, they don't stop, man. But
Non-stop fiesta.
This time wasn't crazy loud music. This time they just had a lot of people out there. I mean, it's just when it hits summer, man, all the time, and like they have the whole cul-de-sac is just filled with cars. I mean, it's
Did you say
crazy.
cuddle sack?
Cul-de-sac,
Okay.
cul-de-sac.
Man, it ain't like you don't know anybody that has,
I bet there's a lot of
band and
people using the bathroom outside.
probably could like have a counter fiesta.
I told Greg, which is Bill's bandmate and one of my friends, that y'all should come with a band, Roadside Alice, and play in the backyard.
Get the monies.
It'll be free.
Yeah, I know.
It'll be
We
free.
might do that. We'll do that.
Maybe get some people from the neighborhood to come and listen.
Yeah, we'll show them out. We'll show up. We're
Why
going to
did-
show out.
What do people think about that? I mean, why not? I mean, if he can get away with doing that, I don't know. The new neighbors beside them, I think, called the cops, and I think he thought that was me.
Mm.
But I mean, I've been living there 4 years now. I've yet to call the cops on the guy. But I don't know if they'd call cops on y'all. But I say do it during the day. See, the problem is with them, they're doing it like 10 o'clock at night. It's still going on.
Yeah, you're supposed to shut down, 10, 11 o'clock?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it should be earlier if you're in the neighborhood.
Well, you got kids. You shut down at 9 o'clock now.
Oh, earlier if you can. Do it early as possible.
Yeah, but I think the law is not 10 o'clock anywhere. Or anywhere in North Carolina.
And that's what
Cleveland County.
That's what anything, or is that
Well, loud outside stuff.
Is there a certain extreme that applies to?
Yeah, if you're caught, that's why they got the cops called on them. If they were doing it past 10 o'clock, they were in their rights to call the cops.
I think it was at 10:30. They were still going.
Whatever. I'm just saying, I've heard that somewhere before. It may not be a law. It may not be anything, but most places tend to have you cut it down at 10 o'clock.
See, I would think it'd be earlier than that. I'd figure it'd be 9. But I mean, I guess you never know.
You're getting old, Chris. So yeah, I guess it'd be 9.
We're trying to put the baby to sleep, and all you hear is That's the same tempo, and you hear the same.
Maybe they're not playing music.
That's exactly what they're playing. They had a live band this time. Usually it's just like they have like a CD or something and they'll play it, and it's not so bad. But when they have a live performance and then have the bass turned all the way up, the bass was overpowering everything. All you heard was the bass. So, yeah.
So, topic this week.
Jeez, was that interesting or what?
No, got things to do.
All right. Our topic this week is the Wineville chicken coop murders.
And people are like, what?
I mean,
What is that?
I heard about this story years ago, and
Wait a minute, a chicken coop actually murdered somebody?
no, it was
The stench.
it was a crazy guy from Canada.
Yeah, them Canadians.
Eh?
Don't
Hey.
you know?
He's gonna raise chickens, eh? But anyway, the guy's name.
Too cold up north.
They don't have chickens up north.
I don't know. They got heavy feathers.
Yeah,
That's-
two coats.
Snow
feathers.
chickens.
Snow chickens.
I heard it was really cold on the island of Alaska.
That's where we lost all our Canadian friends. We're just kidding. We're just joshing an American for fooling around.
Yeah,
You didn't hear me, did you?
we're just hacking on y'all,
I can't
Canadians.
Heard it was cold on the island of Alaska.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Wineville chicken coop murders
I always believe that, by the way.
were a series of abductions and murders of young boys that occurred from 1926 to 1928 in and around the city of Los Angeles and in Riverside County, California. This dirtbag's name was Gordon Stewart Northcott, and he was born in Bladworth, Saskatchewan. Yeah, Saskatchewan, eh?
True.
Yeah, true story.
True story.
Yeah, and he moved to Los Angeles with his mom and dad in 1924, and that was at the age of 19, and he talked his parents into purchasing some land. I think it was about 3 acres for him to start a chicken farm. But they purchased a lot of land in Wineville, and that's in Riverside County. It's like southern California.
Yeah.
Around Los Angeles area.
Miraloma nowadays.
Yeah, it's known as Miraloma. They actually had to change the name of the town because of the murders. They didn't want to be associated with it. And I think there's just a couple things around there that is named after Wineville. I think there's a road.
Yeah.
And a park or something. And that's about it. It was a pretty bad stench on the community there at that time. But anyway, getting back to Gordon Stewart Northcott, I'm just going to call him Gordon. He was living there in California with his mom and dad, and he wanted to start that chicken farm. And he needed some help, so he went back to Canada. He had an older sister. She was still living in Canada, and she had some kids. I think she had 3 kids. An older daughter, Jessie, a middle child named Sanford Clark. I think their all last name was Clark. And the younger child was Kenneth. He was wanting to take Kenneth back. And I'm pretty sure that, from what I read, that Kenneth was the favorite.
Yeah.
He was the favorite.
Seems like douchebaggery runs strong in this family.
Yeah, it was really, they were all just douchebags. But Kenneth, the youngest one, was the favorite. And she didn't care for much for Sanford, the middle child. So he was 13 at the time, so he was sort of forced into going back with Gordon back to California. He was told that he was going to work on this farm, learn a hard day's work, and Gordon even told his sister that he would enroll him in school and
Scouts.
and the Boy Scouts too, and have him doing lots of different things. But on their way back to California, they would
go home with your weird uncle, eh? Go to California, eh?
Yeah,
They
California.
said it'd be nice, eh?
on their way back, they would stop and sleep at night. And Gordon, he would sleep in the car in the car seat, but he'd make Sanford sleep on a blanket out on the side of the road or in a park somewhere. He wouldn't even get to sleep in the car. From the very get-go on this, Gordon was pretty abusive to him. He would slap him around, hit him in the head. If he didn't answer him or say what he wanted to hear, he would hit him in the head pretty hard. And he said there were times that he would get hit. He would see stars or flashing lights, get hit so hard he almost probably got knocked unconscious a few times. Pretty rough on that kid.
Northern Lights.
It's called what?
No. Bad joke.
Okay. They got to California, and when they got to Wineville and that 3-acre ranch, it was nothing like Gordon thought it would be. It was a little shack and 1 chicken coop, pretty much. It wasn't.
Well, yeah, they hadn't even built the house yet, had they?
I think him and his dad had gotten started on because his dad was in construction.
Right.
And I think it got some stuff built there, but it wasn't much.
Well, when I listened to you, said something about they had to sleep in a tent when they were working on the chicken coops.
Yeah.
Is that it's only 3 acres. How far away were they from the house?
Yeah. Makes sense. I knew that Sanford had to help build some of the chicken coops and do some of the work around the house because he even had to stay and sleep in the chicken coops. He wasn't even allowed to stay in the house. And they hadn't even been there a week when Gordon got to molesting Sanford. I mean, it was pretty bad. He would beat him and sexually assault him, and Gordon learned right away that if he would fight him or resist him or scream or anything like that, it made it worse. So he just blocked it out and went along with him, and it seemed the attacks didn't last as long. It's like I hate to say it, but it's like him resisting just fueled.
Yeah, he learned to go along with it. The one I heard said something about it was kind of like the beginnings of Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pacify them so they wouldn't do it any worse.
Mm-hmm. But Gordon, from everything I read and heard, that he was studying to be a concert pianist. Did you hear that, Bill?
Yeah.
Yeah, he'd been pianist. And Gordon's mother, Sarah Northcott, she had told Sanford that he was going to have to do all the work there because he didn't want her son to get any calluses on his hand because he was studying to be a pianist, and he was, she didn't want him working, and pretty much Sanford there, he was just a help. That's all he was. He wasn't. They didn't care for him. They didn't, even though that was their grandchild, they didn't care nothing about him.
Yeah, they act like he wasn't even around.
Pretty much. And they got to, working on the chicken farm. Gordon would get gone. He would leave on the weekend and stay gone for 2 or 3 days. And most time on the weekends, he'd have a Mexican boy with him. And right away, tie him up in the chicken coop or chain him up. His nephew, Sanford, couldn't understand a word they were saying, but he knew the boys were in trouble. And he knew the boys were going to be molested. And he would hear screams in the middle of the night from those boys. And there was one evening he went out there and saw him chained up. He couldn't understand anything he was saying, and he decided he was going to help him escape. And he found a hacksaw, and he was going out there, but he had every intention of going out there, but fell asleep and didn't make it. He didn't get out there to free him. So the next morning when he woke up, the boy was gone, and so was his uncle. And he just stuck to his regular, routine of taking care of the chickens, collecting eggs, doing things around the farm. And the uncle came back later, and he had a bucket, and he handed it to Sanford. And in the bucket, y'all know what Chris, what was in the bucket?
Dum, dum, dum.
No, I don't.
It was a head.
Any thoughts on why he always came back with the Mexican boys?
No.
They were immigrants. What?
Yeah.
1928.
Yeah, they weren't even supposed to be here anyway.
Yeah. And we had no probably border crossing then, or I'm sure it wasn't. So those people are easily discarded.
Yeah.
You're not going to put a Mexican. You're not going to put a at that day and age, and probably most likely right now, if an illegal, let's say, and then he might have been an immigrant. They were more lax then. An immigrant that's disappeared, nobody's really going to report it. Who's to say he even had parents up here to report it? He might have been sent up here to work and then go back home. And it's easy. He knew what he was doing. Easy pickings, no trace.
I mean, even something we'll get to later. Even in his trial from all this, they even referred to him in the trial, those Mexican boys, as the headless Mexican boy. I mean, they didn't have a name or nothing. I mean, they didn't know who they were or anything. Gordon got to where he was getting careless with his kidnappings and murders. But one day while him and Sanford were in town, they had met a mother there with her son at the grocery store. The little boy's name was Walter, and his mother's name was Christine. When Gordon went back to town, he found Walter Collins and asked him if he wanted to go back to his farm to ride horses, because he had a big farm and promised him great stuff. But up to this point, all Gordon had been kidnapping was little Mexican boys. He had an American boy with him this time. And what was bad was when he got there, Sanford could understand what he was saying, and it made it even worse. Right away, Gordon had him chained up in one of the chicken coops, started molesting and sexually assaulting him. And there was actually a movie made about Walter Collins and Christine Collins called The Changeling. It was starred Angelina Jolie and directed by Clint Eastwood, I think it was, wasn't it?
I don't know. I ain't seen that movie.
Yeah, it was, and we could actually do a whole story on that, because the ordeal she had to go through of losing her son and having a replacement son and everything.
Yeah, was that sheriff or the police chief or whatever it was, man? That was some pretty messed up stuff right there.
Yeah.
We said that yet?
No.
Are we getting into that right now?
About to.
Oh, about the Christine Collins thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
My bad. I'm jumping ahead.
No, that's all right.
It's okay.
I'm over here Instagramming while we discuss.
But anyway,
man, you got to attack social media everywhere.
But anyway, the whole Christine Collins and Walter Collins, I mean, we could do a whole story on that, because, we're not going to get into that. Maybe we'll do a story on that. But when Walter got missing, and she was looking for him everywhere, but eventually Gordon killed Walter. and buried him. They buried him in one of the chicken coops. She was looking everywhere for her son, and at that time, they had found a boy in, I think it was Illinois or Indiana somewhere. He'd heard about this story of Walter Collins missing out in California, and he said he was him. He claimed to be him.
Okay, I didn't get that part, but yeah.
He claimed to be him. And
I thought you just found him.
No, the reason he claimed to be him was he wanted to go to Los Angeles to meet his favorite movie star, which at the time was Tom Mix.
Remember him, Chris?
Remember Tom Mix?
None of us do here.
No, but I mean, I've heard the name. He was a Western.
No, Tom Minks, the Gravedigger driver.
This was Tom Mix. He was a cowboy movie star. But when they had that little boy from Illinois flew out to California. She met him at the airport and saw him, and she knew that wasn't her child. She knew it wasn't.
Yeah, what was he? 10 years old? 13 years old?
Yeah.
Or no, that kid is he was 10. The kid impersonating was like 12 or 13.
Yeah.
How do you not know your 10-year-old kid?
She knew
Well,
it.
she knew it.
I know.
She knew it wasn't her
I would
kid.
know it wasn't your kid.
Absolutely. But even that sheriff, that sheriff was screwed up. He told her, said, well, just, take him home and try him out for a while. I mean, they didn't even try.
Like a test drive.
Yeah.
See how it goes.
And
all of them should be that way. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah, that'd be a good idea. But she knew that wasn't her kid, and she even had dental records proving that wasn't her kid. And she kept trying. And eventually, I mean, they didn't even do anything about it. They put her in a mental hospital.
Yeah.
Because of that. Saying that she was a crazy one.
And they say cops are bad these days.
California. Just in case you were wondering about your weird, what do you call it, a stereotype? Yeah. You've had people before you that's got you there.
That's true.
Anyway, getting back to the story, we could do a whole segment on Christine Collins. During all this of Gordon bringing young boys onto the farm and killing them, he would make Sanford, his nephew, write letters home, but he had to tell him what to write. He didn't get to put his own words into it. He had to tell Sanford every word to write, just so that it would look like he was, in school doing what he was supposed to be doing, and all that. But Gordon had an older sister, Jessie, that would read those letters, and when she'd get these letters, she could tell that Gordon wasn't in school. His grammar hasn't improved, his spelling, his way of wording things. It hadn't gotten better, and she got really concerned about him. So she got to where she was working and saving some money up, and she was going to go see her younger brother Sanford. And she made it to California. Right away, she could tell by that time, when Sanford went there with his uncle to California, he was 13. By this time, he was already 15 when she got to see him again. And she could tell that he wasn't where he was supposed to be as far as education or anything like that, showing that he'd been working. And she got to ask him, what's going on here? What's happening? And he wouldn't tell her anything. He wouldn't say nothing. And she stayed there about a week. I think wasn't it a week, Bill?
Something like that.
Yeah. She stayed there a week. Toward the end of the week, when he knew that she was getting ready to leave, he confessed to her everything that was going on. He told her about, the killing of the boys. Even one time where Gordon came out, doused Sanford with a bucket of boiling water on his back, burned him. He was very abusive, and Jessie left. She couldn't really do anything. She goes to the cops there. It might even have gotten her killed. When Jessie got back to Canada, like we said, she'd contacted the consul there, and they went down to California. They could see this was a pretty rural area at the time, and they could see people coming up the road. There's dirt roads and everything. They could see the dirt flying up like Bonnie and Clyde or something, trying to escape. But when they saw them, Gordon took off for the woods, running. He told his nephew that if he said anything about him, he would shoot him from the tree line and kill him. So he actually Sanford kept the officers there for like 2 hours before he said anything about, anything. And eventually, after he knew he was safe, he told the cops everything. But they took him into custody too.
I believe I'd be like dancing around asking her questions.
My thing is
so he couldn't get a good shot.
Imagine what he's thinking, Sanford, when he sees the cops come, because whenever when Jesse left, after he finally opened up to her and told her about what happened, it ain't like she goes, "Hey, I'll be back. I'll get some help. Don't worry. Just stick it out."
We gotta understand.
She just left. Like, she didn't say a thing. It's kind of like, "Oh, cool. Well, I'll see you later." That type of thing, because she didn't want to. She didn't want to let, I guess, make it look obvious. So
yeah,
because if she would make it look obvious, then Gordon would have obviously killed her probably. And
yeah, he probably would have. Yeah.
So she just bounced if she heard the information. She didn't. There was no grieving time or anything like that. She just heard it and just was out. So whenever he sees the cops coming, I'm sure that was a pretty good feeling. But then to be told, "Hey, you better not say anything or I'll shoot you through the woods there." I mean,
we gotta look too. When she left, probably took her 2 or 3 days to get home, and then she went to those people, and then they had to. Well, I don't know. I guess they could have called, but I think they said they wrote a letter.
Yeah, I mean, it took.
So then that took probably another week.
Well, yeah, either way, the Sanford wasn't expecting it because, like she said, "I'm coming back with help," or "I'm gonna get help." I mean, she just left.
So when they got there, Gordon took off in the woods. He ran all the way to his parents' house, which they lived in Los Angeles, and him and his mother left, and they went back to Canada.
And the mother knew about all this that was going on.
Yeah,
the whole time.
Yeah, we're going to get into that about Walter Collins, his death, a little bit more, but yeah, she knew that Walter was like this. I mean, she even referred to it as his special interest with young boys. And
I noticed that they never talked about the dad though.
He was pretty submissive.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, he's the one that got her to go. He's the one that they read the letter. Or he showed it to the daughter, but he kind of gave her his blessing to go, though. I mean, I think he kind of stood up there at the end, but he should have stood up at the beginning.
Yeah.
You just don't give your kids away.
Yeah. Gordon's mama, she wore the pants in the family, but I think his dad, she told him which ones to wear.
Well, her mama and her brother is 2 freaking psychopaths, too. So, like I say, the douchebaggery runs in the family.
Yeah, they all are. But I got some more douchebaggery for you in a little bit on this crowd. They're a pretty rough bunch. But they took They took Sanford into custody, and he told them everything that went on, and they went back to the chicken farm with him, and they showed him where boys had been buried and burned and different things. How he helped get rid of the bodies. He just he knew that everything. Even Gordon had told him that he was accessory to all this. He would go to jail too. He was just as guilty as he was. But they found Gordon and his mother in Canada, had them brought back to California.
How long were they? Had they escaped?
It was like 2 months.
2 months.
Yeah. But the total time on the chicken farm was a little over 2 years, from 1926 to 1928. So they got them back to California. In total, Gordon was held responsible for the little headless Mexican boy, Walter Collins, and 2 Winslow brothers that we failed to mention, but they were also kidnapped and sexually assaulted and murdered. They actually, he made the Winslow boys write a letter back to their family and told them they were okay, and then he murdered them and got rid of their body. But on the trial, Gordon refused counsel. He was his own lawyer. He would get on the stand. Everything I read, he would get on the stand and question himself and answer his own questions. Oh yeah, I saw that look, Chris. Yeah, he was a real.
But did he pass the test?
Passed the bar. But he was found guilty of murdering 4, and his mother was found guilty of murdering 1, which was Walter Collins. And what happened with Walter was when Gordon's mother came out to the farm one evening, Walter was there asleep in the chicken coop, and she knew that they had to get rid of him. They made Sanford help kill Walter Collins. They all took turns hitting him with the blunt end of a hatchet or an axe.
She took the first swing, though, right?
Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
And then she made Sanford take a swing, and then Gordon took a swing, killed him. So, yeah, but then Sanford the whole time just knew he was going to prison. He was going to jail, and he was part of it. Because they kept brainwashing him, too, that, yeah, you're involved in this just as much as we are. After the trial and everything, Gordon was sentenced to hang. And I think at the time he was like one of the last hung in California. That was about 1930, I think, when all that took place. But I think the last hanging was up into the mid-30s. So he was one of the last that got hung.
Yeah, they don't do nothing like that in California no more.
They need to do more public hangings. But and then Sarah, Gordon's mother, was sentenced to life in prison. Sanford actually got out. They sent him to a reform, I don't know if it was a reform school, but like a school for boys or like
I think it was the one I saw where I read it was like a place where they gave treatment, I guess, or
counseling.
Whatever. Yeah, to people that may go, and I think later on it became a reform school.
Yeah,
and I guess that's what it was. But I guess we think of reform school as like a prison for kids, when it's really, if you look at the name, it's to help them rehabilitate and reform to a better life.
And he actually made good progress out there. I think he stayed there for about a year and a half, and done real well with it, and was able to cope and get out. But the things I read, that he still had post-traumatic syndrome over this. It was something, he just couldn't get over. It was, I guess, worse than being in a war. But he married, but him and his wife never did have any kids, because what I read, he didn't want to pass on that bloodline at all. He didn't want, them douchebags, he didn't want to continue that. So him and his wife adopted. They wanted to give a couple young boys who were, in homes having a rough time, to give them a chance at life, that a chance that he didn't have, and raise them like they need to be. And from what I read, Sanford turned out to be a pretty upstanding guy in the community. He active in his church and different community projects. So, Chris, you got anything to add to that?
I mean, I imagine going through all that, that dude probably had nightmares a lot. I wonder if he told his wife
Later in life, you mean?
Yeah, he did.
We gotta kind of figure that somebody goes through that kind of traumatic experience, if to be married to somebody like that, you'd kind of gotta be worried than being around kids.
There is a book that was written about his life called The Road Out of Hell, and his son Jerry, he didn't write the book, but he was a contributor to that book.
That was a son?
Yeah, Jerry Clark.
Did you just have one?
No, he had two.
Oh, cool. I mean, if they went in business, they could have been Sanford and Son.
Yeah, he had. Yeah.
I've been waiting now.
But getting back to the douchebaggery and some details and some weird facts on this, it is rumored that Gordon's father, the one that was very submissive, had actually sexually assaulted Gordon's older sister, and Gordon was the product of that incest. That's highly rumored.
His sister?
Yeah.
Huh.
Which was Sanford's mother.
Oh, her. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
I got you. I thought you meant Jessie.
No, I think her name was Millie or something like that. But yeah, that was rumored there. So the whole family's pretty.
Yeah. Oh, usually it don't happen out of just for the heck of it. There's usually something familial, I guess you'd say.
This seems like it happened a long, long time ago, but
90 years.
Yeah, but Sanford Clark, he passed away in 1991.
Yeah.
So I mean, it really wasn't that long ago.
How old was he?
He was born in 1913 and died in 1991, so you do the math. 78, I think. Is that right?
1931 or 1913?
1913.
78 years old.
78. He was 78, and he's buried in Woodlawn Cemetery in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan.
But you know what? That was even weird because he wasn't buried for like a week, I think.
Who's Sanford?
Yeah. I think that's what it said.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, because it showed something about when he said he died such and such a date, but it was like the next month, like a week later, though, that he was buried.
You talking about Sanford, or are you talking about
I
Gordon?
want to say it's Sanford.
Because I didn't remember it getting. Was that on the second
What
one?
was her last name? Northcott? No, he'd been different.
Yeah, Sanford's last name was Clark.
But wouldn't y'all think it'd be weird, though, for his wife? That's the reason why I don't think that his wife would have known, because to have been molested and stuff like that, you wouldn't think that to have a family would probably be in the best interest. Because you'd be afraid that... Because usually that's how it works. If you're molested as a kid, a lot of molested people... Not everybody, but some people that are molested as kids, more of the male the gender will grow up and do the same. They just...
Yeah, because it is rumored. I mean, I will agree with you on that point, because it is rumored, and I've read, too, that where Gordon was sexually assaulted by his father. By his father, yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. I mean... That's
where he picked up those tendencies.
He said he didn't want to have kids and, keep that bloodline going, but I'd still be afraid. I mean, just from what he had to go through, obviously it was trickling down the line as far as everybody was doing it, from his father on. So.
Yeah, but I mean,
I think you can have those tendencies, and then you can put it upon somebody, and that may make them that may indoctrinate, let's say. But I don't think it's a bloodline character, because there's so many. If that's the way you look at that, I would say it's the same way with like alcoholism.
Well, yeah.
Some fathers and then their sons and but then there's some that don't. So, it's a conscious decision.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's right and wrong. I mean,
yeah, he's saying all of them do. I'm just saying I just wondered if the wife would know.
I'm sure she did. I'm sure she did.
Because I don't know if he was in the media eye. I don't know if he got a lot of attention or anything like that.
He led an exemplary life.
I mean, this case was wide. It got a lot of publicity at the time. It was all across the United States.
Yeah, and Gordon looked like a freak too, man. He did. He had that look, just like, yeah.
He was, at the time, during the trial, I mean, he was in his young 20s. And doing what he was doing, he got really brave there toward his end. I mean, he got comfortable in his situation. It's like, well, I guess anybody doing anything. If you robbing banks and you start out small, you keep doing stuff to getting braver.
I wonder why he didn't kill Jessie when she came to see him.
I think from what I read too, Jessie was pretty smart. I mean, she was well ahead of her years too. She didn't.
She was older too.
Yeah.
It may have been. Look. A lot of times these people are not.
I think she was still a teenager though, wasn't she? 19 or something.
Well, I don't think he was more than 23 or 24.
Who, Gordon?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in his young.
My point being, if she was, all right, let's put it this way, she was the same bloodline. She's not going to grow much more from 17 to 25. You might hit a growth spurt, but what I'm saying is, if that was a small stature person, he could have feared her. He could take on a 10 or 13-year-old boy. He could have his way with him. But a woman the same size as him, he might not have the upper hand on her.
That may be the thing.
She put up a good fight.
That's what I'm saying. So the chances for that going wrong, they're calculating.
He could have had Sanford help him, though.
That's why you don't see a 300-pound jock get abducted.
Yeah, but I don't think he wanted to. I don't think he wanted to in the first place, or he would have just had Sanford probably make it happen. Because, Sanford probably help him with the other victims.
He wouldn't help him with his sister, though. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying if he really wanted to whack her, too, he probably would have had
That's
Sanford.
My point, though. He didn't whack any of these people he didn't. He killed the one guy, but what I'm saying, he forced himself on people. That was his, what do you call it? That was his MO. He would have had to have subdued her. What I'm saying is, it was probably an even fight. He can take a 10-year-old, 13-year-old boy, and he didn't. The only reason he took the 13-year-old boy, they wouldn't let him have the 11-year-old boy. He wanted the 11-year-old boy. His thing was young boys. So he beat Gordon all that time. He probably had the upper hand on him. What I'm trying to say is, if she is the same stature as him, it was probably an unwinnable fight. That's why he wouldn't try to kill her. He's not going to be able to convince her brother to help him kill her. He may, if he had got the drop on her and he had killed her, yeah, he would have made him dispose of the body. But what I'm saying is, he would not have helped him. That would have had to been a fight of his own. And you know, I don't think, that's what I'm saying is, I think that's why she was never in danger, because he couldn't win.
But Sanford Gordon had a lot of mind control with Sanford, obviously, though, as far as making him, he made him help him dispose of bodies, and
he told him.
Right.
Eventually stopped fighting with the sexual stuff.
He told Gordon. Go ahead.
Well, they killed the one boy in his sleep.
Right.
So that's not trying to kill a walking around person, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, we could have killed her when she was asleep. She stayed there for a week.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm saying is,
plenty of chances there.
Yeah, but
I'm saying if he wanted to. Obviously, I just wonder why he wouldn't have. If he kind of
there again, if it went wrong, those people are calculating. People like that are still calculating, and they're looking at risk versus reward. They're looking at outcomes and all that stuff. Look, man, that's why you see stuff, people stalking, they go into, they don't stalk you and get you first night. It's probably they've been watching you. That's like nobody, well, in this day and time. But
that's with any killer. They're going to stalk.
Yeah. They got to,
I mean, I wouldn't want to fight a girl. I mean, I wouldn't. They'd kick my butt.
But that's my point. People like that, I mean, yeah, are there huge, big guys that probably molest people? Yeah, I'm sure there are. But, what I'm saying is, that's why they pick on younger people. They're cowards, and they know they can overwhelm them.
And I think it's Gordon. He was a girly boy, too. He wasn't no,
He's a concert pianist for college.
Yeah, he wasn't. And I even read, too, his mother used to dress him up in girls' clothes and stuff.
Dear Lord.
Not just,
sissy boy.
Easy.
So, yeah, he wouldn't want to fight somebody the same stature as him. I mean,
said he told his son, Sanford told his son on the way to a hockey match when he was 17 years old, because there were some reporters working a case near them about something else, and he was afraid. He said he never planned to tell Jerry the story. Said Anthony Flacco is writing a book about Clark and was at the Whittier Museum last week doing research. But he said Clark was worried reporters working on an unrelated killing near their town would unearth his past. His concern that his children would hear about it from others. His fear didn't materialize.
I doubt his wife knew too. There ain't no way.
Well, I'm sure she did, but I mean, that's what I'm saying though. He didn't want his kids to know. I mean,
What do you want your kids to know?
What if I ask about their grandparents?
I don't know. Look here, man. It is. Kids, people don't even know what you're going to tell them. And you don't have to tell them the truth.
No, you don't.
You got to look at it this way. What's it going to now? If it's something that's going to change their life, or yeah, you may want to tell them. But if there's something your grandparents or somebody did or something like that, and it is going to have zero effect on them, no, you don't tell them.
Did you ever say what happened to the dad after the mom?
I never did hear anything on what happened to the Gordon's dad.
So I'm saying, like, kids, they grow up, and as they grow up, they know their family. They know they have grandparents. They know they have uncles. They know they have cousins, aunts, all that stuff. So I'm saying the only reason why I would want to tell them is if they would ask about the grandparents. I guess you can lie, but you don't ever want to have to lie to your kids. I mean, we do about, Christmas and Easter and all that stuff. Spoiler alert. But, I mean, you wouldn't want to have to, but I guess at that point, would you?
You don't lie. You just don't tell them.
I'm saying if they ask about the grandparents. If they say,
I don't know.
here's mom's grandparents,
So I didn't
or
know.
mom's parents, then where's your parents at, Dad?
So I don't know. They were gone.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. I was just wondering.
Said he served in World War II.
Gordon,
Married.
Sanford.
Yeah, married and worked 28 years for the Canadian Postal Service. They adopted and raised 2 sons.
Yeah, that's what I said. They didn't have kids of their own.
He didn't want to pass on
They were
the
married for
bloodline.
55 years.
Damn.
I was doing research while you were doing actual footage.
Cool. Well, good for him, and kudos to the sister for making things happen. They give me information on Jessie. What happened with her?
Nothing.
He credited June Clark's sister Jessie as Associate Prosecution Counsel Loyal C. Kelly and the Whittier State School for helping save Sanford Clark. Oh, okay. My bad.
Yeah, kudos to the sister, making stuff happen.
Yeah, and I think all your fears about what all was going on about bloodline and blah blah blah. I think this is a testament to where you can pull through that. I mean, yeah, I think in this day and time, don't get me wrong, I understand people have problems and some of them are insurmountable. You can't get through them. There's a lot to be said for previous generations just taking it and then people, you don't want to bottle it up, you want to let it out. Oh man, you just deal with it. I think it's good to let it out and good all that, but in the end, you got to deal with it. It's nobody. I mean, yeah, it's somebody else's fault, but it is now. My dad's a minister, and he always said, when you do something, your parents didn't make you do that. They may have showed you the way something goes, and you can train a kid right, and they're going to do wrong. You can train a kid wrong, and they're going to do right. I know instances of both. My point being is, at the end of the day, it's your responsibility to deal with things. Mm-hmm. And some people don't deal with them right. Some people deal with them right. But, just like alcoholism, it's like overeating. I mean, I'm a big guy. It is nobody's fault that I buy what I buy and put it in my body. It's my fault, my responsibility. I'm not blaming anybody else because I can stop. It may be, it's very hard to stop. Trust me, in 52 years, I ain't stopped yet. But it's still, I'm not going to blame anybody else. I'm not blaming McDonald's. I'm not blaming anybody else. I don't want no laws set for it. It's me.
In the end, we're all responsible for our own actions. I mean, that's, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be accountability, self-accountability. I guess traits, some traits I think would kind of be learned and I guess duplicated. And like I said, not every instance. And I mean, hey, I think just because you have a crappy childhood don't mean you can't grow up and be the most successful person,
Yeah, it's been
God's
proven.
green earth. I mean, it can happen.
Yeah.
I believe everybody can turn their life around.
My point is today I think we're given a lot of excuses and reasons not to.
I know, yeah. I mean, we accept. We want to sit there and roll in our failures and roll into pity, like, oh, feel sorry for me. I ain't gonna be able to do this, ain't gonna be able to do that. I believe people should pick themselves up off the floor, but a lot of people just want to be picked up from other people, and I mean, I get that. I get what you're saying there.
All right, y'all got anything else to add to this?
I think I'm good.
All I can say is, like Bill said, I mean, this is a story of overcoming and making good of what you had.
I've looked at before we started and then now looking at it a totally different way.
Yeah, I agree.
I was all ready to smash that family and everything, but then at the end you got to look. This guy really did something for himself.
Yeah, I agree. Chris, you got any last words?
No, not really. I was just trying to think of something. I can't really think of anything right now.
All right, guys, getting back to our
Yeah,
saved again.
our podcast.
You looked out there, everybody.
We're doing really good, as far as getting downloads. We want people to give us a review. If you're listening to us, give us a review, give us a like, give us a thumbs up. Tell us what we're doing wrong. Tell us what you like. We want to hear from you. Email us at crackhousechronicles@gmail.com. You can look at us on our Instagram.
Yep.
Bill's taking care of that for us. You can go to our Facebook page. We're posting all these on YouTube or any podcast platform you listen to. Check us out.
Say hey, y'all.
Yeah,
We're from the South. We like to hear people say hey, and I don't think anybody's actually really responded.
We've got a few reviews on Apple iTunes, and we've got a few on there, but we want to hear from you. We want to hear people across the pond.
We're getting a lot of hits and likes and comments and stuff on Instagram, but go to that Facebook, man. Last time I checked, it was free. Just say, hey, y'all suck, or anything. Hey, we like it. Hey, y'all.
We know you're out there. We know you crackheads are out there. Just come on, say something. Just give some life to our Facebook page. I mean, we share a post on our personal pages, and that's great. You want to comment on that, but go to our Facebook page and just tell us something, anything. Give us a comment. Tell us what you want to hear. We are open to suggestions because, I mean, you'll have to listen to this, so we will love to talk about what you want to hear. I mean, come on, guys, anything. And we appreciate you listening. So if you don't comment, we still love you.
We do appreciate our listeners, that's for sure. All right, guys, with that being said, we're out of here. This is
the Crack House Chronicles.